When I bought my modest home in Maplewood Estates, I imagined quiet mornings and friendly neighbors. That illusion shattered the day I met Karen Whitfield, president of the Homeowners Association and self-appointed guardian of everyone's business. She had a bob cut so sharp it could slice through glass, and a clipboard seemingly welded to her hand. From the moment I moved in, she was on me about compliance, barking about the shade of my shutters and the placement of my recycling bins. But nothing compared to the storm that erupted over water. It started one Thursday morning when I stepped outside to find Karen standing by my front yard with her arms crossed, a phone camera pointed straight at me. "Caught you," she shouted. "You've been stealing water from the HOA's irrigation line." I blinked, holding my coffee mug halfway to my lips. "Excuse me." She stomped closer, her heels stabbing the grass like daggers. "Don't play dumb. Your meter's been running high for months. My board and I have been tracking it. We know you're siphoning off our supply." I had no idea what she was talking about. I'd barely learned which switch controlled the sprinklers. "Karen, my water bill comes from the city. I don't even know where the HOA line is." "Liar," she snapped. "We'll see what the inspector says." That afternoon, I received an official notice taped to my door. Mandatory water inspection. HOA requested. The letter accused me of unauthorized water diversion and threatened fines if the issue wasn't resolved. My stomach churned. I wasn't stealing water. Still, the thought of inspectors poking around my yard filled me with dread. When the inspector arrived, a calm, soft-spoken man named Luis, he took one look at the setup and frowned. "That's strange," he said, crouching beside the meter. "This isn't where your property's line connects." Karen hovered nearby, glaring. "He's been stealing, hasn't he?" "I told you." Luis stood, brushing off his knees. "Actually," he said slowly, "this line doesn't belong to him at all. It runs behind your property, Ms. Whitfield." Karen's smile faltered. "Mine? That's ridiculous." Luis scribbled something on his clipboard. "I'll need to trace the source. There's definitely an unregistered line here. It might not be city approved." Her face tightened, color draining fast. For the first time since I'd moved in, Karen had no words. And just like that, the tide began to turn. By the next morning, Maplewood Estates buzzed with gossip. Word spread faster than wildfire that the inspector had discovered something off behind Karen's property. I tried to stay out of it, but neighbors whispered every time I walked by. Some nodded at me with sympathetic smiles. Others shot wary glances, unsure who to believe. Luis returned later that day with a small crew from the city's water department. "We're just going to trace the line, Mr. Grant," he explained, kneeling near the back fence that separated my yard from Karen's sprawling garden. "The connection seems to run under here." Karen emerged in her trademark visor and gardening gloves, pretending to prune her roses while eavesdropping. "There's nothing to see," she said with a brittle laugh. "Surely this is a mix-up." But the crew wasn't convinced. They dug carefully, following the thin PVC pipe like a trail of breadcrumbs. My curiosity turned to shock as it became clear, the pipe snaked directly from a city line, near the curb, bypassing the official meter, and disappeared under Karen's hydrangeas. Luis called her over. "Ms. Whitfield, this connection isn't authorized. It appears someone tapped directly into the main." Karen's face twisted. "That's absurd. I've lived here for 15 years without a single issue. Maybe the previous owner." Luis cut her off gently. "Records show you built this addition yourself in 2014, the line's newer than that." The neighbors began gathering along the sidewalk. Phones came out, recording the unfolding scene. Karen sputtered, waving her arms. "You can't accuse me without proof. I'll call the HOA attorney." Luis sighed. "We'll file a full report. Until then, we're capping this line." As the workers sealed the illegal pipe, water spurted briefly into the air, soaking Karen's expensive shoes. Gasps rippled through the crowd. I couldn't help it, I laughed. She spun toward me, eyes blazing. You think this is funny? You set me up. Karen, I said, keeping my voice steady, you accused me of theft. Maybe next time, check your own backyard first. She stormed off, muttering about defamation and lawsuits. Luis gave me a sympathetic nod. You'll get an official statement clearing your name, he said. But between you and me, this wasn't just a mistake. That setup's deliberate. As the sun dipped behind the houses, the once invincible HOA president's reputation began to crumble, and I had a front row seat. The following week felt like a TV drama playing out in real life. Karen had gone from queen of the HOA to public enemy number one. The city's findings became official. She'd been running an illegal well connection, siphoning water for years without paying a cent. A notice appeared on every HOA bulletin board. Unapproved water diversion, under investigation. Though it didn't name her directly, everyone knew. I thought maybe she'd lie low. Instead, she doubled down. She marched around the neighborhood, ranting about false reports and sabotage. She even held a community emergency meeting on her lawn, complete with lemonade and folding chairs, trying to reclaim her throne. I attended, mostly for the spectacle. We have been infiltrated, she declared dramatically. Certain homeowners are conspiring to discredit the HOA. They've tampered with my irrigation. Karen, said Mr. Lee from down the street. The city literally capped your illegal line. We saw it. Her smile froze. That was an inspection error. The city overstepped. Murmurs rippled through the group. People weren't buying it anymore. For years she'd fined neighbors for mailbox paint, cracked sidewalks, and unsanctioned decorations. Now the mask had slipped. 2 days later, I received a letter, hand-delivered by Karen herself. Cease and desist, it read. Any further defamation will result in legal action. I called Luis, who laughed softly. Don't worry. We have everything documented. Her attorney's going to have a hard time arguing with photographic evidence. Meanwhile, the city imposed heavy fines, thousands of dollars for unauthorized tapping and water theft. They even considered pressing criminal charges. Karen's perfect lawn began to brown after her illegal connection was cut. I caught her one afternoon dragging hoses across the street to fill buckets from a friend's spigot. Irony had a sense of humor. One evening, as I watered my now lush garden with legal water, of course, Karen walked by, scowling. You think you've won, she hissed. I looked up calmly. No, Karen. I think the truth did. Her glare lingered, but there was something new in her eyes, fear. For once, she wasn't the one in control. And deep down, I suspected she knew her reign was ending. By midsummer, Karen's empire had officially collapsed. The HOA board voted unanimously to remove her as president, citing ethical violations. Her resignation notice appeared in the newsletter, buried between lost pet announcements and yard sale ads. The neighborhood changed almost overnight. Without Karen's iron grip, people started smiling again. Kids played in driveways without her, scolding them about noise ordinances. The HOA even refunded several unfair fines she'd issued over the years. I might have felt sorry for her if she hadn't made my life miserable first. One morning, a moving truck appeared in front of her house. Karen stood on the porch, directing the movers with that same clipboard. Though her confidence had wilted, she caught me watching and, for a moment, looked like she might apologize. Instead, she turned away. Luis stopped by later with final paperwork clearing my name. You're officially exonerated, he said, smiling. And for the record, her well wasn't even legal to drill in this county. She'd hidden it under that gazebo. I laughed, shaking my head. She really thought she'd get away with it. She did, for almost a decade, Luis said. But greed always surfaces. As he left, I walked to the edge of my yard, where the grass met the fence. The same ground where she'd once accused me now stood as proof of her downfall. That evening, as the moving truck rolled away, the neighbors gathered with lawn chairs and iced tea, watching like it was the season finale of a long-running show. When the taillights disappeared, applause broke out spontaneously. Mrs. Nguyen raised her glass. To peace and quiet. I couldn't resist adding, and to legal water. Laughter rippled across the cul-de-sac. Over the next few weeks, the HOA elected a new president, Mr. Lee, who promised transparency and fairness. The mood shifted completely. The community finally felt like home. Sometimes, when I pass Karen's old house, I catch myself wondering where she ended up. Maybe somewhere new, clipboard in hand, finding another neighborhood to conquer. But here in Maplewood Estates, her legend remains, a cautionary tale whispered over backyard barbecues. They say water finds its level, and in the end, so did justice.